Hello, Humane marketers. Sarah Znakrocha here. Welcome to another episode of the Humane Marketing Podcast, a place to be for the generation of marketers who cares. This is the show where we talk about marketing your business in a way that feels good to you, is aligned with your values, and also resonates more with your conscious customers because it's not pushy, ethical, and also beautiful. So if you're a regular here, you know that I'm organizing the conversations around the 7 Ps of humane marketing. And if you're new here and this is your first time, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. You may want to download your one-page marketing plan with the 7 Ps of humane marketing in the form of a mandala at humane.marketing/one page, the number one and page. So again, humane.marketing/one page. And with that, with no further ado, let's dive into today's conversation. Hi, Eddy. So good to speak to you. It's a different setting, but it's still just us, right? So really excited to have you on the Humane Marketing Podcast.
Very happy to be here, Sarah, to talk about a subject that I love, which is communities.
Yeah, you are I guess as an introduction, you are the community facilitator for the Humane Marketing Circle. I think it would be a funny story to tell how I came across you. So I actually found you on Fiverr of all places, right? So I was looking for a community. I think I probably put in community manager. That's usually the term that I was familiar with. And then I just kind of, saw what was there. And immediately when you were very, how you are also in person, how I know you're very firm about your beliefs. And I love that about you. And it was like very clear on this Fiverr page. It said, I only work with purpose-driven or something like that. You explain who you work with, and that's the only work you're interested in. So I'm like, yeah, this is my guy. So that's how we got in touch. And it's just, when I think back, it's like Fiverr out of all places. But yeah, people always ask me, have you ever been lucky with Fiverr? I'm like, I have been lucky quite a few times with Fiverr. So here we are. It's probably a year later, and talking about communities now. So yeah. Why don't we start with kind of like an introduction to communities? Maybe we can start with defining communities. What is a community? What makes a community?
Yeah, sure. So community is a very old word, right? Which has a very broad meaning as well. And then community would be individuals who share something, who share a purpose, or who share a place where they live. But this meaning is not enough for us to talk about. What we want to talk here about, and what I like to talk about, is about intentional communities, where we are a community because we want to be a community. So there is an intention of being part. It doesn't happen by accident. So I think this is the first thing to say the difference between a community by accident, like a class, for instance, or an intentional community. Here, I think we will talk about the intention community, where people, they have a clear purpose and they want to connect.
Right. Rather than in a class where you have to be there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So the word community has been used in so many ways, mainly lately, and I don't really like that, to be honest. I like to, when I talk about community, I am speaking of something which is not just people having a same purpose, but they have connection between them. They care about each other, and there is this sense of care, genuine care. So, and we could give an example. Would a gym be a community, right? Well, people, they have the same purpose. They go there to get fit. Well, it could be, but it's not necessarily, right? So people can go in and go out without saying a word to each other, without knowing each other's name. But they can also do something like CrossFit has been doing. They can start to train together and to go for challenges together, right? So they can build a community. So that's why I like to point out that we are speaking about intentional communities, and that intentional communities is not neither social media. I really see, like, as you said, you looked for a community manager, and in my page in Fiverr, it was written very well, I don't take care of social media. And someone who's normally looking for a community manager, as most of people call it, they would be like, then what do you do?
What do you do then?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but
Because
it's so true. And what you say about this fact that, community, it's almost like a buzzword now. Everybody uses it. And I think what you're also addressing is the idea of an audience versus a community, because that's where I see it misused often in, kind of this online space. People are calling their audiences communities. So like they would call their Facebook group a community, which again, we could argue that maybe there is a common purpose for a Facebook group. But the big question is really, well, are they connected with each other? Or are they only connected to the guru, the leader of this audience? And even more, is there a selling intention from the guru to the audience, right? That's really where the difference is between a community that cares and that there's care in between the members, and the community leader that only cares about his wallet being filled. And so then it's more an audience. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this difference about between like managing your audience and building a community, and I think we can give some principles to understand it better. And we could say that a community, an intentional community, what we are speaking of here right now, is something that is purpose driven. So it is not for of course, we all want to earn money with the community as well. We want everybody to earn a lot of money and have abundance in their lives. But it is purpose-driven, and it is relationships first. So, like, it is not about the image of the guru, of the boss, and it is about building relationships. We could measure the quality of this community by the amount of connections that there are and the strength of the connections between the people. And I think there is also this continuous improvement on how we can better manage this community, how we can improve the connections between people. And also I think this would be like the basic principles that can already differentiate from audience, right? And I think we can learn a lot from indigenous people. They teach us a lot about community. And personally, myself, I was first interested in live communities, like people living together, having a common sense, and etc. And then later on, I started to study how might we create that online in the pandemics.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I discovered that it is possible, and technology is here for that. We can use technology with a clear purpose and with intentionality, and we can build communities online. And actually, one of the best things that communities online make is to make real friends who will find each other in real life as well.
Yeah.
So the two worlds, they merge, right? And
Would you agree? Sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, would you agree to say that this is obviously the ideal picture of a community, and I feel like in the Humane Marketing Circle we're getting there, and there's definitely already a lot of connections happening in between members. We see projects being created, and yet it is, I think, as a community leader, if we now talk from the community facilitator point of view, leader point of view, it is probably really one of the things that I wouldn't say hard, but it's like they need still support with that. You can't just assume, oh, we now have the people and now just, be all happy and friends. So I feel like that's something that we are constantly working on in the circle. And that's what you're working on as well. And you are creating these network weaving calls, as we call them. So really focusing, actually, I'll let you explain them. So how does the net weaving calls feed into these interrelationships between the community members?
Right. I love this point that you are bringing up now, because yeah, sometimes people think that it is just put all these people in the same room and let them speak to each other.
Right.
But our education is such that we are used to some kind of behavior, some kind of ways to connect or to keep disconnected when we are engaging with people in conversations, when we are meeting new people. And there is also like we sometimes need some time to break the ice and etc. So I really think that the facilitation, now speaking about community facilitation, it is about setting the space for the connections to happen. And this we make with appropriate methods and appropriate tools. So we design, will it be one by one in breakout rooms? What will be the question that we will bring for them to wonder and to talk about? So we try to design something that gets out of the normal, the conventional, right? Because then we get out of the automatic, and then we can really get to know each other for real. And from this point, we build stronger relationships in much less time. So I think it is all about that, and the net weaving connections that we make in our community. And also I bring this in every community that I work with, my community or as a service. The net weaving connections, the net weaving calls, sorry, is a moment that is the main purpose is to build connections with people. And it is funny because normally most of the people, they take time to see the importance of that. They don't want to go there.
No.
Don't go there just to meet people,
Yeah, I don't have time for that, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It's not my priority to meet people. But I'm coming to the conclusion more and more over time that it is exactly this, meeting people with intentionality. So it's not just about hanging out with whoever, wherever, and speaking about whatever as well. But it is about being in a specific place with a specific shared purpose, with a specific designed space for the thing to happen. And I'm coming more and more to the conclusion that this very thing is what brings us more partnerships in business and more health and more. There is a very recent research that I love, that they have researched the whole life of a bunch of people in the United States, from childhood until late until 80s, and they have showed that one of the main things that people who have been happy in most of their lives, they have in common, is that they have strong family connections, strong friend connections. And I think that it is very important for us to keep that in mind, like what is the final purpose in the end, what it is all about, you know, making business and etc., and making partners, going here and there, taking an airplane, making people, passing time and hours, spending hours in front of the computer sometimes, what it is all about. And for me, it is really about being feeling self-fulfilled, feeling happy, feeling that we are useful. And as this research shows, I will look for the link later on, and then if you want, you can put in this. Yeah. Well, it is really about the connections we make. So yeah.
You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking of another word that we often use in the business language, which is the networking group, right? And so that's another kind of confusion, that some people confuse a community with a networking group, or a networking group with a community. And so I think it's really important also to point out that a community, at least our community, and the way I think you see and I see communities, is not a networking group. So it's not a place where you just come to get clients and create business. And I think that's the new kind of reality that we're creating in the Humane Marketing Circle, which is a community that is business oriented, because we are mainly talking about marketing and growing our business in a different way. And yet it relies on friendship and personality, personal connections and authenticity first, right? So that is so different from the typical networking events that I ever went to, not really doing them anymore, but where you are just showing up as a business person. What we're trying to create in the community is a holistic community, I guess. It's like where you show up as a whole person. You are, on one hand, yes, you are in business, you are a business person, but the friendships, they don't happen so much on the business level, they happen on the personal level. And that's why we're kind of creating these spaces where we're allowing, the whole human to be there and connect on this deeper level that is never the business level. It's always the personal level, right? And so I find like communities that are business oriented are probably even harder to create, at least the way we want to create them, because it's like this mindset shift. It's like, oh, I'm not just coming to get something, but I'm also coming to give and really invest that time. It's a slower approach to business in a way. Would you agree with that?
Yes, for sure. That is a question that I love to bring in net weaving calls, which is, who are you besides your work?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, because we are so used, oh, Sarah, what do you do for living? And then you start to speak about what brings you money in your life, you know, but this is just a tiny part of Sarah. And and the problem, let's talk about a bit about the problem, right? About business oriented kinds of community, if we call that. Well, there is so many people with so many clients and so much money, and yet they don't feel self-fulfilled. Yet they don't feel happy about what they do. And I think this is what we are trying to do differently. We are trying to make business as it goes along with our purpose, with our mission, with our life, with who we are. We don't need to use a mask. We can expand our being in connection to people. And I think this is all about marketing as we are humans, and this is all about community in the way we are talking here, intentional communities. It is about getting out of this automatic way of doing everything, which is quite void, empty. We feel empty in the end, and realizing that and trying to do things with meaning and with consciousness, bringing consciousness to everything that we are doing. And I think that community is like the only way that we can go.
Yeah, no, so true. What I just also thought is that, usually in business, you have these membership sites or kind of like learning programs where the idea is to have everybody at the same level, so that then there's something that is being taught and we go through a program, and then you take people from level A to level B, and so it's intentional that everybody is in the same level. If I think about a community, let's take an indigenous community, or I grew up in a hippie community, right? There was not everybody at the same level. Everybody had different experiences. Everybody had different age, and so that's also what we're trying to build into the Humane Marketing Circle. It's not for only for beginner business owners, or only for business owners that make 6 figures, or that horrible language that we don't like. It really is kind of like all over the spectrum, because everybody needs community. It's not like, oh, only these people need community, only beginners need community, or only experts need community. I think that's an essential part. And I actually think that people come with different things that they can bring and different things that they need. So if I think about the people in the community who have more experience, they what they want is maybe to come as mentors and share their knowledge and create other visibility opportunities for themselves. They don't need so much of the initial advice, but they still feel like they're being seen and heard and recognized and useful, right? And I think that's also a new concept in the business world. It's like, oh, we don't just put everybody in the same bucket. We're actually kind of looking at people as a whole, and accept everybody and bring everybody in as a leader in their chair wherever they are in their experience. How does this apply to other communities that you have seen or worked with?
Yeah, I see this that you're saying like as a belief that comes from military things, and then then it gets to the school where we separate children by age, and it looks like we are getting, older, and then we are getting smarter because we have understood more content. But in the end, as you say, like there is such a big opportunity when we merge beginners with people who are experienced, and I see it as the ideal, actually, the ideal pool of a community for learning purpose. I think it is this pool of beginners and experienced people, and I think that the way it also our role as community managers for in this is to realize the participation of people, what they are giving, and pointing it out for the whole community. Hey Sarah, hey community, Sarah this month she took a lot of energy to build this and that for you. Hey community, Eddy this month he is offering a session, let's thanks Adam because he was this month taking care of the community. So we are like pointing out and bringing attention to the to what people are doing for the welfare of the others. And I think this is a way to, because the more experienced people, how can they feel like they are learning and getting the best of it? By practicing what they already have experienced, or by learning how to teach what they already have experienced. So we can give more responsibility, and then here we are already starting to talk about benefits for the brand, because even if we are not driven by by money, and when we are driven by purpose, a brand can be driven by purpose. And what are the benefits for the brand, right? I'm going from one, I'm connecting, right, a subject to the other one, just to say that, yeah, the benefit for the brand and and for the members as well is having in a life space of learning, of constant learning. And because when people, they identify themselves to this place where they feel welcome and they feel belonging, they want to talk about it, they want to be part of it, they want to bring new people to this place because they love being there. And it is real, you know, it's how I feel. So I think this is the benefit that the brand has, right? Because we are really talking about loyalty with members. We are talking about extra value out of contribution and collaboration from members who are willing to do what they are doing. We don't even have to ask them because they love being part of the thing and they want to contribute. And for me, this is amazing, you know. And for the members, and the benefits for the members, I see, like, you know, what in the end, how do we learn new things in the end, right? How do we really actually learn? It is not just by reading a book. It is not just by taking on a course. And it is not just by being in a WhatsApp group. We really learn stuff when we are exposed to new information, and then we are able to test it with what we already believe, what we already know, and then we have a safe space to make new trials with this new information that we've got. And then we obtain knowledge from these tests that we have tried, right? And for me, this is the thing about community. What we are coming to the conclusion, I feel like it is a world movement. We are understanding that, we are finally getting that, is that being around people who resonate with you and who want to learn things that are similar to what you want to learn is the best way to learn whatever you want to learn, because you have a space to be exposed to that, to learn new things and to test out your new ideas. And then you really have in your body the knowledge, and you have a place to practice. So I think this is what we are coming to the conclusion, and this is the importance of community. It is like the difference between taking on a yoga retreat of 1 week and or living with yoga people, you know, and practicing and seeing them practicing every morning. Every morning you wake up late, they are practicing yoga. You wake up late, they finished their yoga. You know, like after a week, you're like, okay, I'm going to wake up today a bit earlier. Now try to practice with them. And I think by managing our context, architecting our context with intentionality is the best way for us to learn. And this is all community is about.
Yeah, so true. And it reminds me of what's on the invitation page for the Humane Marketing Circle. I think I said something like, you know, we talk about and figure out what works for us in marketing, because there's so much content out there that tells you how you should be doing marketing, right? And so I feel like, yes, I could teach my way of marketing, which I do in the Marketing Like We're Human program. But what I really want to offer is this space and place where we can talk about what works for us and then figure out, we share what works for each of us, and then we can figure out, oh, that works for her. Well, let me try that and see how that works for me. And since our values are aligned, our worldview is aligned, then there is a much higher chance that your idea will work for me because it's ethically aligned, right? Rather than going, oh yeah, but that doesn't really sound good. So it's exactly what you said. I thought of another benefit that members often say is this idea of the global community, right? So yes, we are aligned. Yes, we have the same values, the same worldview, and yet we come from different places. You are in Brazil, there's members from different countries in Europe, there's members from the US. And so it brings us these different perspectives that really helps us also then look at things with a different eye and go, ah, that's how they do it. Or, also different topics like in the circle, we mainly talk about marketing and business, but obviously politics comes up, and I do talk about ethical behavior, and so it's nice to have different opinions and different things that people bring in, because we are a global community, and yet we're all part of this shared humanity. So I feel like the global aspect and learning from each other in this way is so enriching compared to, let's say, I do an online course at home and I'm just in my office and I'm just learning by myself. It's not the same thing, right? The other thing that you kind of touched upon, because you mentioned Adam, and Adam is one of our members, and he's also one of the ambassadors. So that's another way that more experienced members get kind of this value for them, but also value to the community, because we have in the circle, for example, we have 3 ambassadors who are then taking turns in hosting the calls. And so that is huge for me. When I started that, I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. I don't want to be the only reference person in this community. A community is never ego driven or guru driven. It is based on different people. And so it's just so amazing to see Adam, Rachel, and Kelly bring in their perspectives and hosting their calls. And yeah, I'm just curious if you see that working in other communities as well, this ambassador model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this we would call the badges. This is a very known feature for our communities, and a place that has been using very well all this knowledge about communities is the Web3 projects. If you navigate a bit on these new projects about cryptocurrencies and everything, they are actually making a very good use of all these tools, creating very intentional groups on Discord, for instance, and gaming people as well. They also make a very good use of these tools that can reinforce the strength of a community. And the badges, for instance, we can have when people and so like normally mature communities, they will have few circles. There are inner circles and there are outer circles, but the goal is not to get to the inner circle. Each circle has its own reason, and people can choose whether they want to be in the visitor space, or they want to be a resident, or they want to be an ambassador. And I really think about communities of people who live together, for instance. You don't necessarily want to live there. You might just want to pass the day, or you might want to make a volunteering, or you might want to try to become a resident, and then the community might have a status for you while you understand the values, and while you get to really understand if it resonates to you, and the community if you resonate to it, until a day you become a leader in the community as well. So I think this is all the badges. They are actually a way to symbolize and to represent what is already happening. It's the status that are already happening in the communities, in the circles, in the groups. and we are just making it visible and making it intentional. Here are the types of presence that you can have in this place, and this one means this and that one means that, you know, these are the responsibilities of this one and that one. What do you want to be, you know, how do you want to be part of it? And if you want to be an ambassador, it might have a way until you get there, because the ambassadors are mainly maybe people who already understand very well the core values of the business and etc. So so the badges are really this thing about seeing what are the roles that we have in the community. And it is not about creating it, like designing all the thing. Okay, we'll have this and that badge. It is to create as it comes, actually. There is a person. The community is growing. We had just one layer in the beginning. Normally, the communities, they start having one layer, which is, are you a part of it or you are not? The only layer. And then the community starts to get bigger and bigger, let's say, and then you start to see that you are not managing by yourself. And then you see that there are two members who are very participative and they want to take on more responsibility. They love being part of that. They want to offer more. And then you create a badge for them to say, hey, you are an ambassador now, you know. And they will love to be recognized by the effort that they make. People will also understand what is the difference. They will understand, okay, these people, they, you know, they are here for a longer period. They understand better. They can help me if I need help. I can count on them. That's why he or she is leading this session, you know. So I really think it is all about making clear and pointing out what will naturally happen inside a group of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And by saying that naturally happen, I think it really comes to this patience and slow growth. It is, unless, you know, you have a big brand and your community is around an existing kind of maybe the audience that turns into a community. But otherwise, if you're, you know, starting out with a handful of people, it will go through these stages of growth. And it's normal that, you know, first, yeah, you really have to kind of, I think the biggest thing is you have to let go of, at least at the stage where the ambassadors come in, it's growing into something that is beyond you as a person, right? Before, maybe you're the only one kind of hosting it and managing it. But once the ambassadors come in and then you have a community facilitator, now it's bigger than you. It's not your community anymore. It's the community. And that's why these roles then just naturally evolve and happen, because the feedback comes from the community. It's not you so much designing anymore. And that's what's beautiful. But again, in a business context, I would say that it takes some learning. I know that it did for me. It takes some learning to look at it in a different way, to look at as a community, not as a business project so much, but more as this natural thing that has its own, it is its own entity, and it will grow if you give it the space to grow and the time as well. So I feel like we're kind of coming to the end, but I want to ask you if we forgot anything that you absolutely wanted to mention. What would you say for closing words about communities?
Yeah, I'll just say a word about what you're saying. That is, I love to say the phrase that my role has been fulfilled. If people, they come in the end and they say, oh, we have done it by ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
It is a bit ungrateful, but you know, it is the way it should be, you know. I shouldn't be expecting to be the center of the attention. If my intention is really that people learn the best they can, they get the best they can. If they think they have done everything by themselves, they don't even realize what I have architected in the place for that to happen. Well, this is the ideal, actually, you know. So I think it is really about that, about creating this space for everyone to learn together and to build friendships that lead to business as well. We have been saying over and over, it is not about business and not about making money, but this is a
But it is
consequence.
actually.
It is exactly, but it is another way of making money. It
Right.
is about making money as we fulfill our purpose, and the more we fulfill our purpose, more we make money. I
Right.
think this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think I just want to mention a last thing and then say a phrase to sum it up. You talked about the importance of diversity as well. And it is very important to point out that it's very easy to resonate on values. Like we all value respect, we all value silence, we all value this and that, collaboration. But the way that we actually understand respect or silence or collaboration or love are very different from culture to culture, from family to family, from person to person. And this will lead also to conflicts. And this is part of community. This is very important. If your community never has any conflict, then you have a pseudo community. It is something that you are calling a community, but it didn't test yet the reality, you know, and the reality is such that we have different understanding of our same values. We all value the same thing, but we think this is something different. You think something different, and testing this and bringing it to you know, building it together. Okay, how might we understand in practice what respect means, and how might we value that as a community? Testing this reality through conflict is very important. So this is part of community, and I just wanted to point it out.
And it's part of our role to hold the space for that, to be able to hold the space.
To welcome
welcome
conflict,
it.
exactly.
Yes. Yeah. And that obviously means that we are continuously doing our inner work so that we can show up as these grounded people who are able to hold the space and don't react and, you know, go immediately into reaction. So yeah, it comes with I would say great responsibility as well to be community facilitators, because it's more than just an online thing, right? These are real human connections that are happening with all the baggage that we come with as well. So yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
so
exactly.
much.
There is a book for those who want to read more about that from Scott Peck, A Different Drum, it is called, and he says there are 4 stages of community: pseudo community, and then it goes to the conflict, where we start to realize that we have different understandings of our values, and it gets so big that we cannot keep to ourselves anymore. And then it leads to emptiness, where most of the people, they go away, they leave. And then it can come to community. So we have to cross all these stages to build a real community. How much time it takes? It depends. If it is a retreat of 1 week, 1 evening together, or 1 year program, it will take a different time. But the ideal is to pass through the stages. And of course, when you get to community, then you are going to pseudo community again. It is a spiral, right?
Hopefully. What's the name of the author? Say that again.
Scott Peck.
Peck. Okay. We'll make sure to link to that in the show notes too.
Yeah, sure. And then I just want to say a phrase and also mention another author that I really like. So the phrase is that you are starting to have a community when you have at least two people beginning to feel concern for each other's welfare. And the true measure of a community success is not the size of its membership, but the depth of the relationships and the strength of the shared purpose. So this is the perspective we are looking at. And I want to mention the author Charles Vogel, who have a book written, The Art of Community, where he gives principles and some steps and how you can build a community. And I also want to say that whoever is listening to this podcast, and if you are looking for learning more about community or how to establish a community, how to get more intentional with the community you already have, feel free to look for me. I'll be very happy to help you.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to get to that. So thanks so much for sharing everything. We'll make sure to link to the two authors you mentioned. Yeah, please do. No, actually, before I ask you to share where people can find you, one more thing that I thought of in terms of diversity is the age. Because I remember a kind of a friend or a mentor that I like in the marketing space, Mark Schaefer, who also wrote a book about communities. What is it called? It's called Belonging to the Brand, Why Community is the Next Big Thing. And so he, I think in the book said, or maybe it was when he was on my podcast, he said, in terms of the community facilitator, look for the youngest person out there. And so I really feel like that's what I did. You're the wisest, youngest person I've met. and so I'm just really, happy to have you in the community, and you bring this new perspective that I'm so interested in as well, for the different business paradigm, the way we look at our relationship to work. So you bring all that as well. And I think the age diversity is equally important. I mean that for older people, but also for younger people. It's nice to have someone from a more experienced generation and bring that perspective in. So I think that's another thing that we can pay attention to when building these attentional communities. So yeah, please do share where people can find you. Is it Fiverr, or do you have another place that's better?
No. Well, I think that the main ways to reach me is LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp, and I also have a blog, but it is completely in Portuguese for now in Medium. So I would say Instagram, WhatsApp, and LinkedIn are the best ways.
Great. So we'll link to that in the show notes.
And yeah, just to I feel about mentioning another author who is Jeff Walker. Do you know Jeff Walker? It is like a big name on marketing, on launching, right? He has the book The Launching Formula,
right?
And in his book The Launching Formula, he talks about being rich without money, which is tapping into the people resource, right? So his energy is not into building financial richness, but into building a strong relationship to people, because then when he needs something, he knows he can rely on these people who know him, who know what he does, and etc. So even when we are talking about more common marketing strategies, let's say, even there, people are already talking about community and how we can shift from the perspective and how we can understand that richness is not necessarily the money in your account. And it is very related to the relations that you have to people and the connections, the strength of the connections and the shared purpose that you have with the people around you.
So true. Yeah. I always have one last question that I ask every guest, and that is, what are you grateful for today or this week?
I'm very, very grateful for this conversation because it brings it gets everything so alive inside me. You know, it's something that I love to talk about. And I'm really passionate about this subject and about the work that I do with this as well. So in this very moment, I feel very grateful for having this
Me
this
too.
talk with you.
I'm grateful also that we're collaborating on this. So thanks, Eddy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks so much for watching and being part of a generation of marketers who cares for yourself, for your clients, and for the planet. We really are change makers before we are marketers. So go ahead, be the change you want to see in the world. And I hope to see you again next week. Take care.